Do you know what? I could not think of anything better after a long winless away run in the Premier League and loads of injuries and a bit of a bleak transfer window than Aston Villa away. Nah, I'm not even convincing myself.
I get nervous, but I'm starting to get a bit shaky, you know what I mean? I'm a little bit weak.
Premier League away days are back, Newcastle fans. The Premier League is back after just over 2 weeks break. We got back to winning ways away from home at Fulham on Saturday. The performance maybe lacked a little bit, and we've got a very, very small matter of one of the hardest places to go more recently in England than Villa Park. The Aston Villa match preview is coming up, Newcastle fans, so you know what to do by now, and make sure you stick around for a bit of black-white banter. Welcome back to Black White Banter, you lovely Newcastle fans. I hope you're Newcastle fans watching this. If you're not, then welcome likewise, but you're not going to get as much of a warm welcome. Well, thank you very much for watching anyway. And if you're new around here, you know what to do before I get into this video. Whack us that little likey. Lou goes a very long way, more than you might know, in fact. And whack that subscribe if you like my opinion by the end of this video. I am going down to Villa Park. Normal service is resumed. None of that watching it on the telly malarkey like I did with the Fulham game on Saturday. Ugh. Oh, God, it was tough. Just seeing the crowd, seeing the fans singing. Of course, Alan Shearer was there. Wasn't too jealous about Alan Shearer being there, though, because I've had the pleasure of meeting Alan Shearer twice. I once took a piss alongside Alan Shearer in St James's Park. Just me and him. Nobody else. I didn't want to look in his way in case I thought I was looking at his Loch Ness Monster. So I just awkwardly said big fan whilst I was washing my hands, and it was probably the most awkward silence after that known to man. But I did get a photo as it came out, and the other photo that I got with Alan Shearer was the most awkward smile I've ever. It was the first ever time I'd met him. Literally, shirt hung on the wall, starstruck, my idol growing up. Literally, I was shaking, quivering, and my face is probably the worst attempt at a smile I've ever seen. When I look at that photo, it doesn't even look like me. It looks unrecognisable. But I have met the man. But yes, I always go off on tangents on these videos. I didn't like not being there. I am going down to Villa Park, half day in at work, down on the bus, the supporters bus. Pretty shite away days, as far as away days go, but I will be getting behind the boys in Villa Park. So that match vlog will be coming. That was my original point. So if you do want to catch that, whack that subscribe by the end of this. Look, I was going to do a last word video and I had it recorded, I had it edited, and then I got pretty busy and it becomes a little bit less relevant as the match gets closer with it being a midweek game. So I haven't posted that, but to summarise on what I said on that last word, the biggest thing I took away from Saturday's game against Fulham, which was a Premier League match, you can't sugarcoat it any other way. It was us against the Premier League side, so it wasn't like us playing a lower league team where you just want the result. You could analyse things a little bit closer to what you used to every week. Job done, but could be a lot better. And I talked for a lot of reasons, which I'll go into in a second why. And if we play anything like we played on Saturday at Villa Park on Tuesday, unless Villa are having a really off day, which they don't very often at Villa Park, we'll get beat. And it won't be nice. It won't be nice on the eye. And my biggest point to take away from Villa, which I took into that video, was Newcastle United are not being hard enough at the moment to beat and play against away from home. We aren't. Last season was great. Last season was wonderful. We were new. We were the new kid on the block. Everybody was talking about us. No one could handle us with Almiron pressing, and Jacob Murphy and Willock and Joe Linton being a brick shithouse in the middle, and Botman at the back, and Trippier pinging balls from the right-hand side. That was great. Wonderful. But what comes with that, as I've said repeatedly, is you start to get found out. Teams do more and more homework on you. And what I've noticed with Eddie Howe, and this is not me slagging off the manager who I love so much, who I've got no doubts will keep evolving, he's proved that, is that right now, as I sit recording this video, we are still very one-dimensional whether we are playing home or away. And this season, it hasn't worked as well. Is that down to the fact he doesn't have squad rotation? Is that down to fixture congestion, lots of different factors here that we could take into that? Or is it just that Eddie Howe is a little bit stubborn in his tactics? I think it's a little bit of the latter, and I'm okay to say that. He's not immune from criticism, Mr. Howe, as much as I love the man. And what's reflected in that is our results since he's been in charge, mainly this season, when we've lost or won, mainly again this season. There's no narrow ones. In defeat, Newcastle have not really lost any matches this season narrowly. And you can go back, even when we got a draw at West Ham earlier in the season, it was 2-2 and it was frantic and there was chances galore, you name it. Tottenham battered, Everton battered, Nottingham Forest at home. They had chance after chance in that second half, wide open, not just chances, the way we played, wide open. Liverpool, New Year's Day, 34 chances they created, wide open. Yes, we stayed in the game and scored at the other end. And I know what some Newcastle fans are going to say, who might counter that what point I'm trying to make here. That's what we want. We don't want defensive football. You know, the Keegan romantics who were watching this a little bit just before my time, I was too young, they will say that's all I ever wanted. That's the best way to play football. And I agree. I'm not saying that I want Eddie Howe to suddenly become Jose Mourinho overnight. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am making the point is that when you get found out, you need to go to certain places and first and foremost, which we managed last season, be hard to beat. And I'm not saying it. And Aston Villa will take advantage of that if we keep playing in the same way. There is too much space between our midfield and our defence, match after match, time after time. And I tell you what, if that Fulham team had been stronger, if that was a top six side on Saturday, we would have been beaten, in my opinion. Second half, we picked up the pace a little bit, but only after we scored the second. We were just a little bit sloppy with the ball, a little bit slow, and after a 2-week break, that concerned me. And that's exactly what my video that I was going to post was about, and what I said, to be blunt. And I hate to do this match preview by starting negative, but that is the first place that we need to start on Tuesday to get any sort of result from Villa, which Man City have failed to do. You know, the list could go on. Europa League, they've battered teams for fun. It's going to be tough at both ends of the pitch. We need to take chances in the final third from Isak, from Gordon, from Almiron or Murphy, whoever plays on that right-hand side. But we also have to be solid. And what I'm really worried about in this one is looking at that central midfield, where the matchups are going to be. You've got John McGinn, roaming like hell in the form of his life for Scotland and for Aston Villa. And you've got Bruno Guimaraes, who's one yellow card away from a 2-match suspension. I don't care what anyone says watching this. That plays on a player's mind. It does. And I'm not saying for a second Bruno is going to shy out of tackles, but you can probably bet that he's maybe going to think about certain tackles and certain moments when you might get a bit of a shirt pull, when you need a shirt pull, when we've been too naive this season in tactical fouls. And he's sitting in front of our back four, and I keep looking at this Newcastle team as a team that needs a CDM. And I'm concerned, I am, and I really, really hope that any worries that I have going into this one, where I'm normally full of beans, I think before the Fulham game I was full of beans, like Villa, 2-week break, Eddie Howe's mags are going to get on the training ground, try some new things, recharge the batteries, go on holiday and come back, and Villa away, bring it on. I'm not so much of that mindset now, because now we've only played 3 days ago. We didn't see the performance I expected against a weakened Fulham side on Saturday, and I'm worried. I am. And Aston Villa have got players all over the pitch that can hurt you. Ollie Watkins, as much as I, for a long spell, didn't think he was worth the hype that he was getting in comparison to other strikers in the league, look at his goal and assists record more recently. It's absolutely fantastic. He's in the form of his life. I've already mentioned McGinn. You've got a threat with Aston Villa from full-back areas. It's just a very good side. It is. And I'm not going to deny that. Whatever your bad blood with Aston Villa might be, mine's not as strong as some Newcastle fans. Yes, they waved a banner that said sub on the time. I'm over it. It's nice to beat them because they've got some idiot fans on social media, but who doesn't in this day and age? But it's a game where we need to quieten Villa Park quite quickly. We need to get hold of the ball. We cannot let Aston Villa have all of their own way, because they will start to carve chances. And if this Newcastle team's going to keep playing the same way, which I think it will under Eddie Howe, we'll go 2 banks of 3, a back 4, Aston Villa are going to create chances. We're not going to keep Aston Villa quiet. Dubravka's going to have a really, really good game if we're going to get anything out of this. And we lack it in that midfield area. And Joe Linton's now gone. The athleticism, the aggression we get with him. Miley, as much as I love the kid and I'm delighted he signed a new contract, what a player. Ideally, I wouldn't be seeing him play as much football as he has. I thought he looked a little bit lethargic in areas against Fulham. He's young, he's 17. Let's just give the kid a rest, but we can't. Longstaff looked better against Fulham. He was probably up there for man of the match for me. And that's nice to see because he's looked very off the pace more recently. And it's a midfield battle and it's a one that I'm worried we're going to lose. I really, really hope that we get our stamp on the game early. I hope that, moving on to team news, Eddie Howe, there's not much team news to talk about, Newcastle fans, let's face it. Livramento or Burn is a big debate for me, and I keep saying it repeatedly. I said it going into the Fulham match. Livramento plays for me. He offers us something going forward which can be so important when your backs are against the wall a little bit to support that attack. And give Anthony Gordon, who has been running on empty in the second half of matches more recently, to give him some support. Because Dan Burn, as much as he tried to get forward against Fulham on Saturday, and he does, Gordon's too quick for him. Gordon's basically waiting, which slows our whole attack down for Dan Burn to make that overlap because he's not blessed with pace. He's really 7'8". So I'd go Livramento, give Dan Burn a little bit of a rest. He didn't do anything wrong on Saturday, but hey. Midfield picks itself. Bruno, Miley, Longstaff, because we've still got nothing back. Barnes' toe is the most slow to recover toe in the history of mankind. Joe Willock's still not quite there. The list goes on. And then your midfield, your front three, we do actually have an option. If Almiron is in the squad, because it doesn't look like, unfortunately, we're going to be cashing him from the Saudis, which I would have taken, no disrespect to him. Looks like he's staying. Didn't fancy 200 grand a week in a gold mansion, apparently. Do you go Murphy on Almiron on the right? For me, Murphy stays in. We saw in that, even in the first half against Fulham, what he can offer. Coming inside, the link-up player that Isak can play with him when he does go a little bit more narrow, rather than hugging the touchline. Murphy's capable of both. I like how he likes to get a shot off, but most importantly, I like how he has a right foot. So that's who I would start. Almiron, nice to have a player who can come on as a squad player if he does make it. Callum Wilson, I don't think he's back, so he's not going to be in the squad for this one. So the team picks itself. Danger men for Aston Villa for me. Well, I've already mentioned John McGinn. I've already mentioned Ollie Watkins. You keep those two quiet for Aston Villa. You've got Bailey as well, who I quite like. He's quite a pacey player. That's why Livramento again would be suited. But you keep McGinn and Watkins quiet. You're closer to winning the battle. I'm not saying you're winning the battle because they do have quality all over, but you are getting closer. Do you man mark John McGinn? No, that's probably not how you're going to do it. But is he a player that's going to attract fouls? Yes. Is this the game that Bruno's probably going to pick up his 2-match suspension? Probably yes. It's going to be very competitive. It's going to be a tough night for everybody on the pitch. Aston Villa's not a place we've gone to very positively more recently. So on that note, let's get into some black and white banter. Stats. As I just mentioned, so I'm still singing the tune. Aston Villa are unbeaten in 6 matches against us at Villa Park. We have not won there since, you ready for a Newcastle fan, September 2013. 13. They've won 4 in a row against us as well. So it does not. But last season was Eddie Howe's worst match of last season. There wasn't many. It was awful. I was there, 12:30 kick-off. It was grim. We need to improve on what we saw there last time. More of what we saw at St James's Park on the opening day would be nice. I'm really sorry, Newcastle fans, but these stats for this particular match and the run of form we're in at the moment don't get much better. They really don't. Newcastle, since we beat Man United at the start of December 1-0, we actually have the worst form in the league. Lowest points, basically, in the league. Losing 6 matches along that run. Only beaten Fulham, if you remember that one, what feels like a very long time ago, just before Christmas on the 16th. So it's been pretty dire recently. That's why Villa's just what you need. And finally, bit of an odd one. It's a negative stat, but it's a bit of a bizarre one. Alexander Isak has scored in 3 successive matches for us, but we've lost every one. No player in Premier League history has scored in 4 consecutive matches and been on the losing side every time. So that's not a stat I want to see claimed by Mr. Isak tomorrow. I want to see that come to an end with him being on the winning side for the first time in 3 matches. Bit of an odd one, that. So, predictions. How do I see this one going? I'm not optimistic, and I'm a ray of positivity normally, as anyone knows. And as I said, before the Fulham game, I would have said, yeah, Villa Park, bring it on. Who knows? I didn't see enough on Saturday to fill me with confidence, and I think it's such a short turnaround. Now we've had a game in the tank with our first team, so the legs will be a little bit tired. Villa played on Friday. I'll go for a score draw because I'm never going to jump on one of these videos and say I'm going to lose. I wouldn't be travelling down to Villa Park spending all my hard-earned money if I thought we were just going to get battered. I'd probably choose that to be the one I stayed at home for. But I am not that optimistic going into this one. Really, really tough place to go. And if Newcastle United do not continue, do not work on being harder to beat, and I sound like a fucking broken parrot saying that, we will get beat. We need to shore things up in that midfield and defence area and stop allowing teams to play through the lines like going through us like a bloody train. That's what I want to see in this away match. And if that means we don't score as many, if that means we're not on the front foot for every second of the match and it's not played like a ping-pong match, then so be it. Because I would love to see entertaining football every week, Newcastle fans. Of course I would. But sometimes away from home to pick up points, when you've been found out a little bit like we have, you just have to play things a little bit smarter. So score draw is what I'm going to go for. Newcastle fans, drop down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think the score is going to be and what team you would play. Murphy, Almiron, Livramento, that's pretty much the only thing. Why are things not working away from home? Do you disagree with me? Do you think it's not a case of us not being hard to beat? Do you think it's not lost in the midfield areas? Let me know, and I'll see you on my next video, which will be a cheeky match vlog on the way down to Villa on the supporters bus on the Tuesday night. Eddie Howe's Mags are back in Premier League action, and fingers crossed we can toast some kind of away result to go on from that Fulham game. How are you, lads?